But we were talking about game speed. What are some of how would you introduce the topic in terms of what do you like to see with game speed development and then, I guess, execution?
Yeah, I think, mate, I might share a couple of stories. I always feel it gives good context to how you've been shaped as an individual and how it works. I remember really early on, I think 2008, starting my career, and Mike Anthony was an ex-All Black S&C. He was now head of sports science and the sort of conditioning roles at New Zealand Rugby at the time, and he shared the 2003 All Blacks data from their fitness testing. And they did a phosphate decrement test, mate, back in the day. And for those that don't know, a phosphate decrement test, you did a maximal 30 metre, and you did that sort of every 30 seconds. It was a great test, obviously highly labour intensive. And I remember him showing me at the time, there was one of the All Black wingers, Joe Rokothoko, who is an absolute weapon, lightning fast, amazing athlete. By the fourth sprint, he was the slowest in the All Blacks backline. And one of the reasons we need to be aerobically fit is obviously our recovery determines our subsequent ability to repeat the next type of performance. But it just really resonated with me that a couple of the guys that had the best average across those whole 10 sprints, they were not in the top 5 or 6 fastest guys in that team.
You mentioned curvilinear speed. Did you test that? Yeah, obviously you've got your force plate testing as well in the gym. What do you like to look at to see, I guess, to get a finger on the pulse of is the group heading in the right direction?
Yeah, we do. We want to do more than what we did last year, if I'm honest. We want to just integrate like our acceleration work a little bit more. We spoke about the importance of that. So definitely getting guys through the 5-10 metre gate, but also adding in like a deceleration test as well. So looking at our ability to stop and to move. Obviously, Veld has a wide number of tests you can utilise for that are pre-programmed. As an aside, I was just reading on LinkedIn, I've now produced some curved sprint testing in there because obviously they're alerting to the fact. I think some literature tells me for rugby league, where maybe 13 to 15% of our sprints are linear, the rest are not. So they've looked at that and gone, hey, there's a real need to make sure there's something that's not in that space. I noticed that Veld, I think, have added some curved sprint and some swerve sprint testing, I believe. I haven't yet looked into it, but I noticed they've announced it. But yep, we'll do that. We obviously use max velocity with GPS, and we look into that.
Victor sent through a question on YouTube, Simon, and how do you build the deceleration for long-term development for male and female athletes to play multiple sports?
Yep, I think you can start low-level, low-amplitude landing mechanics really early on. And I still think now, if I use my netball analogy, netball where the whole game is just extensive deceleration and plyometrics. They are jumping, stopping, cutting, and landing. And it's just such an extensive sport that you couldn't actually always use more high-level forceful style plyometrics because it was just equaling the overload. So we actually did a lot of really good low amplitude, really high technique orientated work to do that. So if I was starting male or female athlete of any age, like we still use low amplitude, like I mentioned, pre-trainings, just to trigger some good areas, make sure we've got good habits, is I would start rotational, multiplanar, linear sort of jumps and lands, and both bilateral and unilateral at areas of where they're just learning to control their own body weight sub-maximally, but with good mechanics. So is there good joint coupling, or is there multi? That just means, am I not just being knee or quad dominant as my hip assisting my knee and vice versa?
With the rotational side of things, what would be some of your go-to drills or exercises, I guess, from the basics through to the progressions?
Yeah, I think, mate, I used to probably overcomplicate those a little bit, and I tried to make them too high. And I remember Lauren Landau, I went to an NSCA conference in Vegas, and he's obviously a well-known trainer in the sort of the NFL side scene. He's also known as the ACL guy there for a little bit, and he was doing simple things as 90-degree rotational jumps where you're just trying to stay, nicely planar with both feet. I now call them clock jumps or clock hops, where you might go 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, back to 12. And what you're looking for in that is you can just stay really sub-maximal, and obviously you're just resisting rotation on your landing and looking at, can I reorientate my landing to be really a good form? That can be bilateral or single leg.
Do you have a framework in mind, or is it more just workshopping with the coaches? Yeah, talk us through that side of things for transfer of game speed.
If I just, I guess, would use my rugby or my footy, which takes up like 14, 15 years of my career, is straight away talk to the coach, because I've had some coaches that will give you speed sessions for a certain day of the week for 30, 40 minutes because they really want it and they value it. It might be position specific, say for a backs group. And then I've had other coaches like, no, mate, we're a footy team and we need to make sure that, footy is the priority. And you work through here. So straight away, mate, it's workshop with the coach. You have to fight for what you believe is important, and you have to then work within the constraints that you're given for that. But ultimately, every coach is going to appreciate an available squad. And if you're doing your speed development, and we're talking speed, we're talking multi-directional speed, If you're doing your athletic development and your speed, you'll have available players because it's injury preventative, it's performance orientated.